Hey guys, and welcome to Stamping Fun with Donna. Do you know what today is? Today is the day that the new Stampin' Up Cut and Emboss Machine becomes available for customers. It's really exciting. I can't believe that it's finally here. I've been waiting for it. So I've had mine for a couple of weeks because I'm a demonstrator, and as a demonstrator, we can pre-order these. So if you ever want to become a demonstrator or talk to me about what you can get when you do become a demonstrator, please just drop me a line down below, stampingfunwithdonna.com, and I would be happy to talk to you about it. But here's the new machine. Ta-da! So as many of you know, Stampin' Up has had a collaboration with Sizzix for a number of years and had a machine. But this machine, they wanted to make a machine that they could brand their own, that they could talk to the demonstrators, find out what they could do in order to improve it and make a better machine. And this is the result. There are going to be two sizes of this machine. There's this is the large one, and then there's the mini. And the mini is not available yet for either demonstrators or for customers. But it should be available hopefully by the end of the year, and there will be more information on that as we go along. But I'm going to go ahead and show you this machine now, tell you a little bit about it, show you a demonstration about it. It's really easy to use, and it's got a lot of improvements to it, and then talk to you about some techniques you can use and some tips for using it, and then I'll show you a couple cards. Shouldn't be very long, but should be very informative. So as I said, this is the new machine. This is the large size machine, or the regular size machine. It's 8 pounds, just over 8 pounds. The mini one is 2.5 pounds. So it's a little bit smaller, but this is still a good size. It comes exactly like this out of the box, except that you have to put the handle on. That's it. And I can barely screw in a light bulb, and I could put this handle on in a matter of seconds. It's really easy. There's an Allen wrench, there's one screw, there's one washer, and then a little foam that you put in, and that's all there is to it. Other than that, it comes with that, and it comes with all of the plates that you're going to need to get started. So here are the plates. There are going to be available 2 specialty plates in the future. They are not yet available. One is a magnetic plate, in case you're going to do nestled, and you really need your dies to stay in place. And the other one is going to be an impression mat for turning dies into embossing folders as well. So that's all there is. And other than that, it comes with these 5 plates, which is what you need to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. First, I'm going to tell you it's about 6 inches tall. It's about 9 inches long, and it's about 6 inches wide. And when you open it up, it's about 14 inches long. A lot of people were wondering about the dimensions. So that's what it is. So it's still pretty small. You can see each of these is like the size of my hand. So it's real pretty small, and it's a good size for the desk, but it's still very sturdy. One of the big improvements is that they've made it very easy to use. And in order to do that, they made a couple of improvements to it. So the first thing is that they put the directions on the plate. So that makes it simple. You don't have to remember exactly how to put together your what we call a sandwich in order to get anything done. It just tells you, and you can look at it every single time. Another improvement is that they numbered them, so that they put a picture here of your sandwich that you're going to want to make, and they numbered each of the plates. So you can look at this. You can also look at the words and see what it says. It tells you exactly what you're using it for, but they're all numbered, and you can see this is numbered number 1. This is numbered number 2, and it says right on here, die plate, do not use with embossing folders. So it's pretty easy, and they've got the same photo here of the 1, 2, and 3 plates. And then they've got 2 number 3s. Those are the acrylic plates. You can see I've been doing a lot of butterflies. I don't know if you can see that, but I've been doing a lot of butterflies. And they're going to etch into here. That's normal, and you just keep using it until it's so bad that you can't use it anymore. And then there's number 4. And number 4 is going to be only for embossing the 3D. So there's actually 3 things you can use this machine and these plates for. There's die cutting, there's embossing regular folders, and then there's embossing the 3D folders. And each one of them has a different what we call sandwich, but they're all listed right on here, 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how easy it is to use. So what we're going to do first is I will show you how to make a sandwich for a die cut. And we'll die cut a couple of little flowers. So you want to put down the base plate number 1, and again it tells you right here. And then you want to put down the die cutting plate number 2. You want to put down one of the acrylic plates, number 3, Then you want to put on your piece of paper that you're going to die cut into, because the machine is going to press down onto the die into the paper. So that's what we are doing. We're creating a sandwich that it can then press down and cut through this piece of paper. And then you've got your dies. Now on the dies, you will see here, there are two sides, obviously. This side is a little bit raised up, and this side is flat. So the raised up side needs to go down. That's where it cuts. It's the raised areas that cut. And then we're going to actually, this is from the Many Layered Blossoms, Many Layered Blooms set. And this is the dies that come with it. And then there's also a stamp set that comes with it that's Blossoms and Bloom. So I'm going to, instead of using the large one right now, I'm going to show you this first pass with these small ones. It also comes with the small ones. It actually comes with this large one that makes a beautiful die cut for flowers. And then this one also, and they look very similar, but this one is thicker than this one. So this one actually layers on top, I think the other way, yeah, on top of this one. And then you can layer them together in different colors. And it comes with two small flowers, also in both the thick and the thinner, so you can layer these as well. So I'm actually, you know what I will do? I will put this one, and then I will grab out the little ones that will layer with it, so we can take a look at those as well. And those are right here. So let me take those off of the package and put those down as well. Making sure, as I said, that the cutting part is down. And you can do it across, you can do it anywhere you want. You do not want to put every die always in the center, because then it's going to wear down the center more than the edges. So you really want to go around. So as I've said, we have number 1, number 2, one of the acrylic, number 3 is the piece of paper, and then the 2 dies. And what we're going to do is put on the other acrylic plate, number 3, over on top of it. Now you need to make sure that the dies are on the paper and face down, and that they're covered with this acrylic in order for it to work. And then you just roll it through in the machine. And that's all there is to it. It's all done. So let's get out to the other end, and I will take this apart for you. So I'll take the acrylic off, and it's sliding a little bit. Let me just take those off. Okay, so here are the dies. The other one is over here somewhere. There we go. So those are the dies that we just cut. All right, and here's the piece of paper, and I'm just going to pop these right out. You can see how easily that cut and how easily they come out. They cut so beautifully well. Okay, now I have my take your pick tool here, because these are very intricate dies. One of the great things about the Stampin' Up die sets is that they really did a great job. They really do a great job of making these very intricate, beautiful dies, and then you can just pop out the insides. I'm gonna just do this one. It'll be a little easier because it's a little bit thinner while we're talking. And then these little areas here. And look at what a beautiful die that is. It took no time at all. And you've got this beautiful flower now. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Maybe that'll be easier. That you can add to things. As I said, these layer. So if I take this one here, which one? I think is it this one? Because I just did 2 of them at the same time. I think it may be the other one. Let's take a look at this one and see if yeah, it's more this one. Okay, so then if I take this one and I poke out this one the same way I just poked out the other one, and you can use, there's a brush for your take your pick tool that you can also use that makes it come out really easily. I just don't have it with me right now. Okay, so here we go. There is your blossom here that's done, and your blossom here that's done. You can do them in the same color. You can do them in different colors. They kind of turn out really pretty when you layer different colors on. And then you just lay it on, and look at how beautiful those are and how easy that was. So that's the die cutting. Now let's go on to the embossing. So there are 2 different types of embossing folders, as I mentioned. There are regular embossing folders, and there are 3D embossing folders. Actually, there's kind of 3 different folders. This one right here is the mini. So this is a mini folder that will go into the mini Stampin' Cut and Machine, and it also goes into this one. This is a 3D embossing folder. It's called Old World. So I'm going to show you both of these. And I also have the Pine Woods dies. And the Pine Woods embossing folder should be here as well. Let me see, I was going to use that one to show you. But we'll take a look. Oh, here it is. I just set it aside. Okay, so here's the Pine Woods 3D embossing folder. So what you do for the embossing folders, and again, it's written right on here, so you don't have to remember any of this yourself. So to do a regular embossing folder, and I will use the mini embossing folder. This is the greenery embossing folder. It actually comes with 2 embossing folders in the same package, so it's very economical. So we just pull it out of here, and you can see that they're definitely small, and there's 2 different types here. So what I will do here is to take this one, and I will show you how to make a sandwich for that. And again, it's written here, so you don't have to remember it. You do not use plate number 2. It says do not use with embossing folders. So set that aside. Here's plate number 1. You want to put down the acrylic. You want to take the piece of paper that you're going to emboss. And I think I'm going to use, I have a piece of going gray here. I think I'll use the going gray. I did not cut this. Let me go ahead and just cut this a little bit smaller because we don't need the whole thing for this. Just cut a strip off. Okay, and what we're going to do is to open this up. You always want to have the logo up. It says Stampin' Up right here, and you want to put this in. Now, for some of these, you can tell that there's an up and a down, and if you rub your fingers over it, you can tell which way is the impression, which way is the depression. You can actually use either way, whichever way you like. I just cut it a little bit smaller than this folder, and I just stuck it in here. You want to make sure that it goes in straight if it's something that you want to be straight. If you don't, then it doesn't matter. And you want to get it up to the hinge, but not too far into the hinge. The hinge will always go first into this machine. And so you always want to make sure that the hinge is that way, the Stampin' Up logo is up. You put the second piece of acrylic on, and you roll it through. It's so easy and so smooth, it's ridiculous. And then on the other side, you take it out, and you won't believe how beautiful this is. Look at that. You see that? You see how pretty that is? It just came out so nicely, and it just does this beautiful, beautiful impression. Now, taking the 3D embossing folder, I'm going to show you the difference between the 3D and the regular embossing folders. So for the 3D, again, it tells you exactly here, you do not use the 3s. You use 4 instead, because those folders are thicker, and so they need to have a little bit more room. So what I'm going to do here is to open this new Pine Woods embossing folder. This is in the mini catalog for August to December, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love this embossing folder. You will not believe how pretty this comes out. So you need number 1, you need your embossing folder, and we're going to put in, let's see here. I will do this on, oh, I have a piece of copper. Let's do this on the piece of copper. Let me just cut it a little bit thinner so that it will fit in a little bit better. And we are going to take this and put it into that embossing folder right here. And run it through. So put it in, make sure that the hinge goes first, make sure that the logo is up, make sure that the gray piece number 4 is on top. And then we're just going to run this through. Okay, I made a mistake. Let me take a quick look and see, because it's not going through so well. What did I do here? 1, good. Embossing folder, good. And 4. Okay, let's try that again. Here we go. There we go. Now it's going through. And you just run it all the way through. it pops out the other end. It's so smooth, you won't believe it. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that turns out. That is such a gorgeous embossing folder. I can't get over it. Every time I run it through, I am amazed by how beautiful it is. It looks really nicely with these metallics, but it also looks well with other things as well. That's all there is to the machine, really. Those 3 items, and that's all the sandwiches you need to make. It's really all you need to know. But what I'm going to do is to show you just a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more special. There's a couple of things that we can do to make it a little bit more special. I'm going to take this white piece of paper that we already have been using and just cut off where I die cut the flowers so that I can show you something here. There's a couple of different tips and tricks that you can do when you are using the embossing folders and the dies. And so first I'm going to show you with the embossing folder because we're on that now, and then I'll show you something with the dies. So one of the things that's really kind of fun with the embossing folders is that you can color them. So you can make them different colors, which is really fun. So here, of course, we have the trees, and this is the I have here I think this is shaded spruce. Do I have shaded spruce here? Yep, shaded spruce. And what I'm going to do is just take my sponge and sponge up, get some good ink on here, and go ahead and just tap it on the trees. And I'm going to ink up a little bit more, tap a little bit more, make it a little bit more heavy along the bottom than along the top. And just, I need to actually move, there we go, so I can get it a little bit better. And it's only going to stick really to, you can do this lightly, so it's only going to stick to the areas that are raised, right? It's not going to go into the depressions as much, so it's going to really show off these trees really nicely. Okay, and then I'll just make it a little bit darker along the bottom. There we go, and a little bit more along this edge and along the middle. There we go. And now we're going to see what happens when we put the piece of paper in and run it through with the ink on it. Okay, so let me get back to my sandwich. I have my plate number 1. I have my embossing folder and my piece of white paper, which I will put right there. Fold it over, put hinge up and the logo up, and put the plate number 4 on top and let it run through very easily. And again, this is on a white piece of paper, but it's been inked with green. So let's see what happens when we pull it out. We open it up, and look at how pretty that turned out. You can see that the trees are all inked in green, and it turns out really beautiful. So that's one thing that you can do with this in order to, and I've gotten my fingers inky, so let me see if I can't wipe them off before I touch the next thing. In order to color them, is you can color the embossing folder before you run it through, and that will make it really pretty. Okay, there we go. Get those all better. Now, something I wanted to explain to you about this machine is in order to extend its life, there's something you can do that will make it so you can use things a lot more than you usually do. So what happens with this machine is it's the pressure that does either the embossing or the die cutting, right? So you need to have the sandwich made the right way in order to have the right kind of pressure. So what that means is if you put this plate number 1 in, and this works both with impressions, both with the embossing folders and with the die cuts. And if you put plate number 2 in, which is right here, and then you put this on, right? And then you're going to put the paper and the die. The paper and the die and the last acrylic plate. Now, if it's not exactly like this, it's not going to cut. So what does that tell you? That tells you that you can cut part of this, but not the whole thing. Let's say you really want to use this flower, but you don't want to use all the rest of it, and you don't want to use up a lot of paper. what you can do is only cut the part that you want. So let's say this one's a little bit hard because they're all so close together, but we'll just cut a little bit off. So let's say you want to do it like this. You only want to have this part. You don't want to waste the paper by cutting the whole thing for there. What you do is you just put this where you want it to be cut. Now anything that is not in the full sandwich is not going to get cut. So this area here is not going to get cut. And I have this upside down. As I said, you want to make sure that the cutting area is down and that the flat area is up. So now it's up. So now only the area that's underneath the full sandwich is going to get cut. And I will show you that. Let's run this through. And there's two different ways you can do this. I actually put this so that it wasn't even on the paper. And then you can see here, this is what gets cut out here. And you have just the one flower that you wanted right there. I put this so that the paper was sort of running off the end. You can do it that way, but you don't have to. What you can do, let me go ahead and just pull this off and push these flowers out, and now you have this beautiful flower, light, lacy thing at the bottom of your piece of paper. And I'm not going to take it all apart because I just was showing you sort of what you could do here, but you can get the idea here that this is exactly what happened. Okay, and then you get just the part that you wanted cut. So there's two different ways you can do it. As you saw, I ran it off the paper and I didn't have paper here. You can also put the whole die on and onto a piece of paper. Let's see if I have another piece of paper. I'm not going to run this through, so I'm just going to reuse this piece here that we did that on. And as long as you can put the whole thing on, and as long as you only put the plate on part of it, it does the same thing. So this part won't get cut even though it's on the paper. It just needs to be just the sandwich. It needs to be together, and this top part needs to be on there. There's a couple of really cool things you can do with this, and I don't have any to show you right now, but let's say you have a rectangle, and the rectangle is too long or not long enough. Then that's what you do. You do one end of the rectangle, then you turn it around and do the other end of the rectangle. So there's a lot of ways that you can make this. If you want to do a half circle, put the circle on and only put the top plate on half of the circle, and you've got a half circle. So there's a lot of ways that this can increase what you do. And the same thing with the embossing folders. So let's say you only want to put part of your paper on the embossing folder. Then what you can do is you take your plate number 1, and this is the regular embossing folder. So you take a look here, and it tells you you do not use plate number 2 with any of these. And with a regular embossing folder, you will use plate number 1. You'll use the acrylic plate number 3, the embossing folder with the paper, and the other acrylic plate number 3. So let's say I only wanted to have this on an edge. Actually, the other one makes more sense. Let's say I only want to have this on an edge. So what we're going to do is to put the edge we want. Let's say we want it, how do we want to do this? Let's say we want to have only this edge have any of the embossing on it. Then what we'll do is we'll put it in like this. And again, you can either do it with the paper or you can do it with the plate. Either way it'll work. This is now going to be a little bit thick, so I'm just going to tear it. You put plate number 1 down, you put plate number 3 down. You put this on the area that you want to emboss, and let's say I don't want to emboss the rest of it, and then put plate number 3 on, and only that part that the plates are on are going to get embossed. So you basically have much more creative expression and can do whatever you want. I only emboss this part of it instead of embossing the entire thing. So whatever you want to emboss, whatever you want to cut, you put into the sandwich. Whatever you don't, you leave out of the sandwich. And so that makes it a lot easier. I'm going to show you a couple of different projects I have here that I've done with this. and that other people have done with this, and I'll show you some of these areas, some of these things that I've done. So here is, I love this. I love Butterfly Beauties. The Butterfly Beauty die, I cannot get enough of this die. It is so beautiful. So this is the large Butterfly Beauty die, and I did the entire thing in both orange and in black, and then I just colored underneath it a little bit with watercoloring, and then put them together. This is the same as the many layered blossoms, where it's one that's more delicate and one that's thicker, and that you just put them together. So I did that one, and I love that card, and I'm going to have this up on my website soon. This one here is interesting. I was trying to figure out how to make a shelf for my jars of flour. The jars of flour I have, the stamp set, with these little flowers, these little jars, and then the larger jars. And so I used that greenery embossing folder that I showed you today. I used that, and I only did it on part of this. Like I said, I put it on only part of it, and I also colored it with the black, and that was able to make it look like a shelf like that. This may be my favorite card I've ever made, and I'm definitely going to be including this later on with something. I love this card, and I've been stamping since 1998, so saying this is one of my favorite cards ever is really a big deal. So this one also, what I did here is I embossed, I die cut, the large butterfly. And you can do this is that large butterfly. It had 5. I showed you on this one here. It's the 3 smaller ones. So you can do it one of 2 ways. You can either emboss them or die cut them out, separately, or you could do the whole thing and cut it up. And so that's what I did for this one, is I did the whole thing and I cut these 3 smaller ones off. This behind here is embossed with the Old World embossing folder, which is a 3D embossing folder, and it looks just beautiful. Just gives a little bit of rumpled look behind things, and it just gives more texture. It's absolutely beautiful. So what I do is I tend to cut out some of these and keep them. So I have a couple of these left over. This is the lacy blooms that I showed you earlier. And this is the evergreen. And for this one with the trees, see those beautiful evergreen trees? I think that's actually the way it goes. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. There you go. And it's on sparkly paper. It's on the sparkly paper, and so it comes out so pretty. It's much easier to see in real life, but it's so pretty. And this here is that Old World paper again. You can see here how it looks. This is one of the greeneries. This is the one that I used for the shelf, and you can see on the sparkly, on the copper paper, it looks really pretty as well. And then I have a whole bunch of these little things. Now, I have here, we have this red velvet paper in the mini catalog, and I made the butterflies in the red velvet paper, and I think that came out so pretty. This one here is the leftovers from the card I showed you. So I showed you that I had used this card, and I had cut it from the 5. So here are the leftovers, and what I do is I just keep these, because I can certainly, and here's in black, I can certainly use these on another project. So I just have a little bin, and I put them in. I cut the 3 off, used out of the 5, kept these 2, and keep them in a little bin. Also, this is one of the die cuts from, I'm pretty sure it's from the same set. It's from the butterfly set. And then there are teeny little butterflies too. Look at how pretty those are. Those are really small. And they cut so beautifully. I mean, look at how detailed that is, even though it's so small. And I use these on all sorts of different projects. The little butterflies can go on all sorts of different projects. So that's all there is to it. The new Stampin' Cut and Emboss Machine, it's $120. And if you are interested in purchasing it or in talking to me about it, or if you need anything and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd be honored to be your demonstrator and to help you out with this. Please drop me a line. Let me know what you think. Thanks. See you soon. Bye.